And how tough was it to crack into this, the industrial, chemical, plastic, metals space?
It was damn tough, yes.
Because it's not very organized, and even the tenders that come in, I think you guys had to literally create a platform for that,
right,
where SMEs could kind of check state government tenders and
right,
union government tenders. As you told me a while back, no one even knows what a tender actually looks like.
Yeah.
So what kind of shift did it entail for you guys to go from a very organized, high culture place to, a space that needed organizing, that wasn't so organized in India?
So one, it was very exciting because frankly, a lot of what we had seen in operations across a lot of corporates that we had worked with, none of it actually existed out here. So the fact that you could do a lot, or whatever you touched would be gold, the whole thought of that was extremely exciting. So that's one. I think the second thing is that if you leave a few of us, most of our team is actually pretty young and fresh, right? So they love to go on the ground, they love to meet strangers, they're salesmen at heart and stuff like that. So we were armed with this philosophy of saying that, hey, we are going to only work with youngsters, freshmen out of colleges, and that also helped making that transition. And I think third, the very fact that you are making a real impact compared to what we were doing in our other jobs. Wherein we were kind of we were associated with making impact, but we are not directly at the center of it. The whole fact is that you're in the center of action is something that helped. It was a tough transition though, but it took a while. I think a month or two, all of us were in.
Right, and you guys hit the road. At least you must be hitting the road quite often, right? Sometimes when we've called Ashish, he would be in Manesar or Rajasthan or some other place.
Yes. We have to drive around a lot. See, SMEs are a little bit, they want a little bit of that personal touch, right? So you can build technologies around it. But
it's not about creating an app and tell them.
Exactly. An app can help you do business, but it can't be the source of your business. So we still have a huge offline network that actually kind of works in conjunction with what we do online.
Right. If I look at the current macroeconomic scenario, people are talking about, inflation, the US, people are talking about recession. I just wanted to understand how the overall macros is affecting your businesses, because you're in the business of procuring raw materials for, a variety of industries across sectors, from EPC to construction to steel and so on. Are they pulling back on spends? Are they kind of getting into cost savings mode? Are they still investing in those big projects? What are you seeing on the ground? How will it affect your fortunes?
I'll tell you about commerce and then she can add around the financing bit. So commerce, actually we are in a very sweet spot of what the entire business entails. So we actually have tailwinds both on the demand side as well as on the supply side. So though they have receded a little bit in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 months, but the tailwinds were so heavy and so strong that they've existed. Meaning that on the demand side, because of geopolitical issues of Southeast Asia, China and all that, a lot of that demand, which actually used to go to China.
You benefited from the China plus one.
Hugely. The entire sector that we serve, right? So because of that, you would see sectors like heavy machinery, auto components, industrial chemicals, packaging, wherein stuff used to go to China, bulk of it is now coming to India. India can't even serve that demand today. So that's the big tailwind on demand. If you look at it on the supply side, because of variety of issues that happened in the last 2-3 years, whether it is credit squeezing, whether it is COVID and stuff like that, a lot of the suppliers have actually gone out of business. And hence, the organized ones who are armed with more technology, armed with more working capital, are the ones who are dominating. And if you put 2 and 2 together, it's a heady concoction, right? So demand, you have a big tailwind. Supply, the competitors are going out, or because our competitors are mom and shop distributors, they are going out of business. So hence,
the supply is getting concentrated in favor of the larger. There's a consolidation.
Driven largely by technology and availability of capital, which this sector fundamentally never had over the past few decades, right? So hence, a lot of what happened in the developed markets over decades is happening in India in a super fast period over let's say a 5 to 10 year period, and we're probably in the damn center of it.
Right. Ruchi, in such a scenario, one would worry about collections, defaults, when there is stress in business. Again, are you seeing any of those signs in terms of delay in payments or credit cycles?
No, actually, just taking from what Ashish was saying, that the sectors, obviously there's an overlap in terms of sectors because we address the same core sectors of the economy, right? And as you look at these sectors, there is a boom coming, whether it's in terms of the infra spend, whether it's in terms of actually manufacturing shifting to India and so on and so forth. So in fact, we are seeing a credit demand increase rather than seeing more of a stress on collections in the sense, and more importantly, the SMEs or the mid corporates that we service are more stable in terms of the segment. So they are all servicing a B2B entity. So a business to business is the play that we have, right? So all these guys will be 50 crore, 100 crore, 200 crore in terms of turnover. They are stable, they are banked. So, and these guys are actually now looking at expanding their capacity. They're looking at actually infusion of capital, and hence we are seeing the credit demand increase. More of the stress, as you were saying, is more what we saw in the COVID period, and that too in our segment, because specifically our segment was more stable firstly, and the second thing is our credit is more short term in nature, specifically to buy raw materials. So whenever the economy opened up, people wanted to do business, and hence they needed money to buy raw materials, right? So the combination of the business model and the segment actually was very good for us. In fact, our gross NPAs are only 1.1%, right? And we are now seeing that expansion of credit, which is actually very healthy for growth of business, similar to what Ofbusiness is saying.
The same pocket of customers, right? It's just that we serve a different need and they serve a different need.
Do you guys have global ambitions, or is India a big enough market for Ofbusiness?
So Indians at heart, but we do realize that what we've built here is a pressing need in many other countries. So we've thought of taking some baby steps, like for example, we've started imports of certain raw materials. We've also started exports in certain places where the arbitrage of what we do in India versus what it sells is high. For a couple